Thank you for joining us today. We are Tapestry, and we're here to present you with a short video on John Gottman's 7 Principles to Making Marriage Work. This is the first of a 5-part series. My name is Daniel Peaks, and I will be your speaker today. This being part 1, we're going to summarize what John Gottman referred to as the 4 Horsemen. The 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse. If these horsemen are present in a relationship, things are not going very well. So let's introduce the 4 Horsemen. Criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and finally stonewalling. Now, criticism, we'll begin with that. Now, complaints are a normal occurrence in any relationship that's gotten beyond the honeymoon phase. A complaint could be about the bed not being made, the dishwasher not being unpacked, anything like that. It could be of a relational nature. Maybe someone's not expressing their love enough towards the significant other. It could be about almost anything. And complaints are fine. They're not attacking the individual like a criticism is. Criticism is more global. It's an attack on the person's character or personality. You really are trying to make the person hurt when you use a criticism. And harsh startups, which we'll talk about in a later part of this series, are often criticisms. If you begin a conversation with a harsh startup, i.e. a criticism, the end of the relationship, the end of the conversation, maybe even the relationship is going to come quite soon afterwards. Here's an example of a complaint. You didn't unpack the dishwasher. Why didn't you do that like you said you would? It's straightforward. It's not an attack on the individual. It's simply a statement and question as to why a behavior wasn't done. Here's a criticism. You are useless. You can't even do one little thing that I asked you to do. It doesn't even mention the activity that wasn't engaged in. It just calls the person useless, i.e. worthless. If you're trying to increase a positive behavior in your significant other, or even in a child, criticism is not the way to do it. The second of the 4 horsemen is contempt. It's virtually impossible to accomplish anything positive in relationships when contempt is present. I've seen it in my counseling sessions where both members of a relationship are showing so much contempt towards one another that really no work can be done. Long-standing negative thoughts and feelings fuel contempt. These could be related to a past argument, maybe if trust was broken in the past and was never resolved or processed. Either one or both people in the relationship can harbor contempt or resentment, that's another word for contempt, towards the other. Unresolved differences can also fuel contempt. If there was a disagreement in the past and it was never resolved, that can create some contempt towards the other individual. Contempt is the worst of the 4 horsemen. It's just the relationship is not fun. The relationship is not good if contempt is present. It's very hard to enjoy yourself with someone that you really just don't like being around because you resent them. Some examples of contempt so that you know if or if not that they're present: sarcasm and cynicism towards the other person, name-calling, sneering, eye-rolling, mockery, and hostile humor. If you're using any of these when communicating with your significant other, it's not looking good. The third of the four horsemen is defensiveness. Now, when you're being attacked, it's natural for you to become defensive. However, it rarely affects the relationship in a positive way. Defensiveness, in a way, is blaming your partner, or at least the situation. Reading between the lines, you're saying, the problem isn't me, can't be me, it must be you, or it must be something else, it's not me. Now, these first three horsemen, criticism, contempt, and defensiveness, they work like a tag team. They don't all attack at once. They come and go. One may be present where the other is not, but pretty much they destroy or disparage the relationship bit by bit. It's marital or relational death by 1,000 verbal jabs. The final horseman is called stonewalling. In a way, it's like defensiveness. It is a response to the other three horsemen. If you look at the scenario on the screen, a harsh startup followed by contempt incurs a defensive reaction, which leads to a doubling down of contempt that results in the defender, maybe it's you, maybe it's your spouse or significant other, tuning out. It's a communicative shutdown. We also call this flooding. If the emotions get too high for one or both of the individuals, flooding can occur, which is essentially an emotional shutdown, a communicative shutdown. Stonewalling is a final defense against the barrage, and it's the end of communication at that point. There's no point continuing the argument once one person has started to stonewall. It's also an avoidance of the argument. It's a self-imposed timeout with no hope of returning. And it can become a habit. It's rewarding for the person that's stonewalling because they're getting out of a situation. However, that habit can, in essence, become an avoidance of the marriage. So, in conclusion, these are the four horsemen. And I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Again, we are Tapestry. My name is Daniel Peaks, and we are located in Marietta, Georgia. Thank you very much.